The sleek black Bentley pulled up to the curb outside the rundown apartment complex, drawing stares from everyone on the street. When the chauffeur opened the door and Richard Mercer, billionaire tech mogul and one of the most powerful men in the country, stepped out, time seemed to freeze. But he wasn't looking at the crowd. His eyes were fixed on one person only, Jake Collins, the exhausted single father in faded jeans who stood paralyzed with shock, his ex-wife's mocking laughter still ringing in his ears. Nobody could have predicted the journey that had brought these two men together, or how their lives would forever change from this moment forward. If you're moved by stories of unexpected friendship, second chances, and the triumph of kindness over cruelty, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming true stories that remind us of the power of human connection. Jake Collins stared at his reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror, barely recognizing the man looking back at him. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his once vibrant face had grown gaunt with worry. At 34, he looked a decade older. Running a hand through his unkempt hair, he sighed deeply before splashing cold water on his face. "Daddy? Are you ready yet?" 6-year-old Emma's voice called from the hallway of their small apartment. Jake forced a smile as he opened the door. "Almost ready, princess. Did you finish your breakfast?" Emma nodded, her pigtails bouncing. Despite everything, she remained the light of his life, her resilience astounding him daily. She wore the uniform of Westside Elementary, a school Jake could barely afford but was determined to keep her in, no matter what sacrifices he had to make. "We need to hurry, Daddy. I don't want to be late again." Jake glanced at his watch and felt his stomach tighten. They were cutting it close, and Emma's teacher had already spoken to him twice about tardiness. He grabbed his worn leather messenger bag, checked that his resume copies were inside, and took Emma's hand. Their apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. The elevator had been out of service for weeks, so they hurried down the stairs, Jake wincing at the pain in his knee, a reminder of the construction accident that had cost him his job 6 months ago. Outside, the morning air was crisp with early autumn. Jake's ancient Honda Civic sat in the parking lot, looking even more decrepit in the morning light. He prayed it would start without trouble today. "Jake! Wait up!" The voice made Jake's shoulders tense. He turned to see Melissa, his ex-wife, stepping out of a gleaming white Range Rover. Her hair was perfectly styled, her designer outfit immaculate. Beside her stood her husband, Derek, in an expensive suit, checking his watch impatiently. "Emma, baby!" Melissa called, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "Come give mommy a hug." Emma hesitated, looking up at Jake before running to her mother. Jake watched as Melissa bent down, careful not to wrinkle her outfit as she embraced their daughter. "We were just dropping by to give Emma something," Melissa said, as Derek pulled a wrapped package from the car. "It's that science kit she wanted for her project." Jake felt his face flush. The science kit Emma had been talking about for weeks, the one he'd told her they couldn't afford right now. "You didn't have to do that," he said quietly. "I was going to get it this weekend." Melissa's laugh was like glass breaking. "Oh, Jake. We both know that's not true. How could you, when you can barely keep the lights on?" She lowered her voice, though not enough. "Honestly, it's embarrassing. Emma told me you've been taking night shifts at that gas station." "A gas station, Jake?" Derek checked his watch again. "We should go, Mel. I have that meeting." Melissa nodded, then looked Jake up and down, taking in his faded jeans and the shirt he'd ironed 3 times to look presentable for his job interview. "You know, if you'd just be reasonable about the custody arrangement, Emma wouldn't have to live like this. Our home has plenty of space, and she'd have everything she needs." Jake felt his jaw tighten. "She has everything she needs with me." "Does she?" Melissa's voice dripped with condescension. "Look at you, Jake. Look at this place. You're a mess. You can't even get her to school on time. What kind of example are you setting?" Emma had wandered back to Jake's side, clutching her new science kit, her eyes downcast. Jake placed a protective hand on her shoulder. "We need to go," he said firmly. "Emma has school, and I have an interview." Melissa's eyebrows rose. "Another interview? How many is that now? 10? 15? Maybe it's time to accept that no one wants to hire a washed-up construction worker with a bad knee." "Melissa," Derek warned, looking uncomfortable. She ignored him. "I'm just being honest. Jake needs to hear this. For Emma's sake." She turned back to Jake. "The offer stands. Let Emma come live with us full-time. You can see her on weekends. It would be better for everyone." "Not for me," Jake said quietly. "And not for Emma." Melissa's face hardened. "You're being selfish. You can't provide for her. You're living in this dump, working minimum wage jobs. It's pathetic, Jake. You're pathetic." Emma pressed closer to Jake's side, and he could feel her trembling. That was enough. "We're leaving now," he said, guiding Emma toward the car. "Thanks for the science kit." "Don't say I didn't try to help," Melissa called after them. "When the judge hears about your living conditions at the custody hearing next month, you'll wish you'd taken my offer." Jake helped Emma into the car, his hands shaking with anger and humiliation. As he closed her door, he heard Melissa's laughter, followed by, "Did you see his car? I'm surprised that thing even starts." Jake took a deep breath, trying to compose himself before getting into the driver's seat. Emma was quiet, her small face troubled. "Don't listen to her, Daddy," she said suddenly. "I like our apartment. And I don't want to live with Mom and Derek." Jake felt his throat tighten with emotion. "Thanks, Princess. But your mom is right about some things. You deserve better than what I can give you right now." "But you try really hard," Emma insisted. "And you make the best pancakes. And you never miss my bedtime stories, even when you're super tired." Jake smiled, reaching over to squeeze her hand. "That's because you're the most important person in my world." He turned the key in the ignition, and the car sputtered before reluctantly coming to life. As they pulled out of the parking lot, Jake saw Melissa and Derek watching from beside their luxury SUV, their expressions a mixture of pity and disdain. The drive to Emma's school was quiet. Jake tried to focus on his upcoming interview rather than Melissa's cutting words, but they had hit their mark. What if she was right? What if he was being selfish, insisting on keeping Emma when he could barely make ends meet? After dropping Emma off with a hug and a promise to pick her up on time, Jake headed across town for his interview at Horizon Technologies. It was an administrative position, nothing like the construction management role he'd lost, but it offered stability and benefits, which was all he cared about now. The interview went well, or so Jake thought. The HR manager seemed impressed with his experience, even if it wasn't directly related to the position. As he left the building, he allowed himself a small flicker of hope. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe this job would be the break they needed. His phone rang as he reached his car. It was Mrs. Patel from next door, who watched Emma after school when Jake worked evenings. "Jake, I'm so sorry," she said, her voice apologetic. "My daughter just called from the hospital. My grandson is being born early, and I need to go right away." Jake's heart sank. "Congratulations, Mrs. Patel. Don't worry about Emma. I'll figure something out." He ended the call and leaned against his car, mind racing. His shift at the gas station started at 4. Emma got out of school at 3. There was no way he could find another sitter on such short notice. With a heavy heart, he called his boss at the gas station and explained the situation. The response was what he'd feared. "I'm sorry, Jake, but I've given you too many chances already. If you can't make your shift today, don't bother coming back at all." Jake closed his eyes, feeling the weight of failure pressing down on him. Another job lost. Another step closer to proving Melissa right. He spent the afternoon applying for jobs online at the public library, then picked Emma up from school. She was excited about her day and chatted happily as they walked back to the car, but Jake found it hard to focus on her stories. The custody hearing loomed in his mind like a storm cloud. As they approached their car, Jake noticed a sleek black Bentley parked nearby, looking absurdly out of place in the elementary school parking lot. A uniformed chauffeur stood beside it, scanning the crowd of parents and children. "Wow," Emma whispered, eyes wide. "That's the fanciest car I've ever seen." Jake nodded absently, fishing for his keys. Then he heard his name. "Mr. Collins?" "Jake Collins?" The chauffeur was walking toward them, his expression professional but friendly. "Yes?" Jake replied cautiously. "Mr. Mercer would like to speak with you, sir." Jake blinked in confusion. "Mr. Mercer?" "Richard Mercer," the chauffeur clarified, as if Jake should recognize the name. And suddenly, Jake did. Richard Mercer, tech billionaire, philanthropist, founder of Mercer Innovations. His face was regularly on business magazines and news programs. "There must be some mistake," Jake said. "I don't know Mr. Mercer." "There's no mistake, sir. If you and your daughter would please come with me?" Jake hesitated, instinctively pulling Emma closer. "I'm sorry, but I'm not comfortable taking my daughter to meet someone I don't know." The chauffeur nodded respectfully. "Of course, sir. Mr. Mercer anticipated your concern." He handed Jake a business card with the Mercer Innovations logo. "Please feel free to verify his identity. He's waiting in the car and would appreciate just 5 minutes of your time." Jake studied the card, then looked at the Bentley. Through the tinted windows, he could make out the silhouette of someone in the back seat. "Daddy, is that really Richard Mercer?" Emma whispered excitedly. "We learned about him in school. He invented those smart glasses everyone uses, and he builds robots that help sick people." Jake hesitated, then made a decision. "Wait here for a moment, Emma. I'm going to speak with this gentleman, and then we'll decide what to do." He approached the Bentley, and as he did, the rear door opened. Richard Mercer stepped out, and Jake froze. The billionaire was younger than Jake had expected, perhaps in his early 40s, with dark hair graying at the temples and keen blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. He wore a simple but clearly expensive charcoal suit, no tie, and carried himself with quiet confidence. "Mr. Collins," Mercer said, extending his hand. "Thank you for agreeing to speak with me. I apologize for the unusual approach." Jake shook his hand automatically, still bewildered. "Mr. Mercer. I don't understand. Why would you want to talk to me?" Mercer smiled. "It's about the Horizon project." But first, he glanced over at Emma, who was watching them with undisguised curiosity. "Would you and your daughter be comfortable joining me for an early dinner? I find conversations are always better over food, and I'd like to explain properly." Jake's mind raced. The Horizon project? He'd never heard of it. Was this something to do with his interview at Horizon Technologies earlier? "I appreciate the offer, Mr. Mercer, but I don't think." "Please," Mercer interrupted gently. "I understand your caution, but I promise this is a legitimate business matter. One that could be very beneficial for both of us." There was something in Mercer's expression, an earnestness that didn't match Jake's image of a calculating billionaire. Against his better judgment, Jake found himself nodding. "All right. But we can't stay long. Emma has homework, and—" "Of course," Mercer said. "I value your time, Mr. Collins. And your daughter's education." Jake called Emma over and introduced her. To his surprise, Mercer crouched down to her level, speaking to her with genuine interest about her school day and the science kit she was clutching. Emma, usually shy with strangers, responded enthusiastically. Minutes later, they were seated in the back of the Bentley, Emma wide-eyed at the leather seats and built-in screens. Jake felt profoundly out of place, acutely aware of his worn clothes and the absurdity of the situation. The chauffeur drove them to an upscale restaurant in the city center, the kind of place Jake hadn't been able to afford even before losing his job. He tensed as they entered, but Mercer led them to a private dining room where they wouldn't be observed. Once they were seated and had ordered, Mercer insisting they choose whatever they wanted, the billionaire finally explained. "Mr. Collins, I was at Horizon Technologies today for a meeting with their executive team. My company is considering acquiring them." He paused. "I happened to be passing through the lobby when you were leaving your interview. Something about you caught my attention." Jake shifted uncomfortably. "Something about me?" Mercer nodded. "The way you thanked the receptionist. The way you held the door for an elderly woman. Small things that most people wouldn't notice, but they speak to character." Jake wasn't sure how to respond. Mercer continued. "I asked about you. Learned you were interviewing for an administrative position. The HR manager spoke highly of you but mentioned you were overqualified. Said you'd been in construction management before an injury." Jake felt a flicker of hope about the interview, quickly tempered by confusion about Mercer's interest. "Mr. Mercer, I appreciate that you noticed me, I guess. But I still don't understand why we're here." Mercer leaned forward. "The Horizon Project is a new initiative at Mercer Innovations. We're developing sustainable, affordable housing solutions using advanced materials and construction techniques. We need someone to oversee the practical aspects, someone who understands construction from the ground up but also has management experience." Jake stared at him. "And you think that's me? Based on seeing me hold a door open?" Mercer smiled. "I've learned to trust my instincts, Mr. Collins. But no, not just that. After our brief encounter, I had my team do some research. Your former employers spoke very highly of you. Said you were the best project manager they'd ever had. That you treated every worker with respect and every client with honesty." Jake felt a lump forming in his throat. After months of rejection, hearing his work valued was overwhelming. The position would start at $120,000 annually, Mercer continued casually, with full benefits, of course. And flexible hours to accommodate your daughter's schedule. Jake nearly choked on his water. That was more than double what he'd made at his previous job. "Mr. Mercer, this is... I don't know what to say. It seems too good to be true. Call me Richard, please. And it's not charity, if that's what you're thinking. This is a business decision. The Horizon Project needs someone like you." He glanced at Emma, who was happily drawing on the children's menu. "Someone who understands the importance of home." Their food arrived, momentarily pausing the conversation. As they ate, Mercer asked Jake about his experience, his ideas about sustainable construction, his thoughts on affordable housing. Jake found himself speaking passionately about topics he hadn't discussed in months, ideas he'd thought no one would ever want to hear again. By the time dessert arrived, a chocolate sundae that made Emma's eyes widen with delight, Jake felt a connection with Mercer that defied their different circumstances. The billionaire spoke about his own background, growing up in a working-class family, his mother struggling to make ends meet after his father left. "That's why the Horizon Project matters to me," Mercer explained. "I never forgot what it was like, watching my mother worry about rent, about keeping a roof over our heads. Success means nothing if we don't use it to help others find stability." As they were finishing, Mercer's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned slightly. "I apologize, but I need to take this call. Business in Tokyo that can't wait." He stood, then paused. "The job is yours if you want it, Jake. No further interviews necessary. My assistant will contact you tomorrow with details." He handed Jake a business card with his personal number. "Or you.